What is up, guys? Welcome into the Creed of Crypto podcast. How you doing? I am a broke boy crypto. I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok. He is in the house as well with again a clean shaven, not clean shaven, but the Pulse beard is gone because PulseChain, after all, has launched. So we do this every single Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If it is your first time dropping in, hit a like, hit the subscribe button. We do this again every single Wednesday night. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in. And we've got a lot to talk about tonight because, oh boy, over the last week, we've had massive amounts of fear and not only the greater crypto market, but also in this PulseChain ecosystem. Hence the thumbnail tonight with the Wojaks, one looking fearful, one looking like he is greedy and happy for the opportunity that he sees for himself. So we've got a lot to get to tonight. We will talk a little wee teensy bit of BTC and ETH. We do have some macro stuff happening here in a couple of weeks in June. But we got some juicy topics to get into in this PulseChain ecosystem tonight. Lots of drama, lots of sentiment, which I think is important to look at for sure. So first off, Ewok, how are you feeling tonight about, life in general, and how about PulseChain crypto?
I'm feeling good. I am enjoying the dip. You know, for some of us, we've been here before, so nothing new. It's getting to the point where now's the time to probably start DCA a little bit here and there and buy some of these positions up that everyone's selling out of. It's kind of good timing. So yeah, it's getting exciting, and now's the time you want to really be back in the truck up.
I was going to say, you said start DCAing. I mean, I would think a lot of people may have already been doing that with PulseChain, but it's kind of like that meme, buying the dip of the dip of the dip right now. So, which is fine. You know, that's what's going to happen. This is one of those things where, when in doubt, zoom out, keep that long-term mindset. But we do know that that is something that a lot of people are struggling with right now. Again, we've seen the sentiment on Twitter, and just a lot of it. And it's going to happen. We're going to get deep into it here tonight. Saw Brizology there in the chat, so welcome in, everybody. We got FN based in there. Hit us up, hit the like. We very much appreciate it, guys. And let's get right into BTC and ETH. We're not going to tackle this for all that long, but we've pretty much ignored the entire market of crypto now for about a month, rightfully so, because PulseChain launched. So, but right now, BTC, this is funny. It's I said this to you the other day, Ewok, like a lot of people have been just kind of, I saw like on Twitter and stuff, some people that are still lost in the old school world of crypto talking about where Bitcoin is trading at, doing all their trader things on Twitter, like, oh, I don't know who needs to hear this, but BTC's going to 23K. BTC's going back to 20K. Obviously, when there are already red candles, that's what people do. They see what's already happening. They look at the chart right now, and then they just keep, reinforcing that. And inevitably, a few days later, BTC rallied back up to 28K. So right now, we're a little bit over 27K for BTC. And look, I'm not saying we can't go down to those levels again in the low 20s. It's 2023. We've tackled this plenty of times. There will be dips for buying. It's going to be a weird year. Same with ETH, which is almost at 1900. But what do you kind of make, even though I know you probably haven't really been watching it all that closely either, Ewok, but what do you make of the crypto market at large right now and just heading into the rest of 2023?
Same thing I've been saying for a while. It's going to be boring. It's going to be choppy, back and forth. We're going to see pullbacks. We're going to see some run-ups, but it's not going to get exciting. It's going to be very boring. And this is the part where people start to get shaken out because it's not doing anything. I don't know if you've ever seen the meme of the person standing there with the stick. It says, do something. It's kind of like that. And, it doesn't surprise me here at all. I mean, we could pull back to those levels. I think it's got to test 25,000 first. We're talking Bitcoin. If it holds there, then yeah, but if not, well, it could go down to the next level or two. And then, it's always, when that stuff happens, though, it's always poised to make a nice run up in recovery right after. So it's just boring. It's, we kind of have been talking about this for a while. It's not going to do a whole lot of exciting things. We're spoiled right now because we do have something exciting, which is PulseChain and the new things that are happening. But for the rest of the markets, there's just no excitement yet. So that's where we're at in the cycle.
Yeah, not a lot. I mean, again, we've talked about these trends of 2023 so far, and it's been interesting. Certainly again with the launch of PulseChain, super interesting now for us. But the beginning of the year, I can't remember the order of these. Oh, so AI coins were first, like it was that fetch.ai coin. Everybody was talking AI coins, yada yada yada. Then it moved into some kind of Chinese tokens or something like that. Then it moved into memes and Pepe, which of course was insane, and like a 350,000x or something like that before starting to tank. People just kind of grasping at straws for anything here in this more boring recovery year in 2023. But remember, again, like keep your eyes on the prize. We don't necessarily tell anybody what to DCA into or how to DCA. It's up to you. But generally, this year should really be an accumulation year. And I know that's how you and I have both been treating it. On the macro level, we do have the next and maybe the last FOMC meeting to not that we're worried, but like be even slightly concerned about for now, maybe a long, long time. But it's coming up here on June the 14th, where the Fed and Jerome Powell. The last I looked, the probabilities by most pollsters is basically that 65% chance that they do raise rates one last time. Obviously, like a 25-point rate hike. That again, nearly a 50-50 shot as far as what people think. But I don't think it's going to have much effect on the markets in terms of crypto right now. It really hasn't. And the big moment we've been waiting for is when is the Fed going to actually pivot and go back, not only not increase interest rates for the first time in over, a year or so, but maybe even lower them. So what are you kind of expecting, Ewok? And what do you think we can look at maybe here for the rest of the year with these FOMC meetings?
So I don't know if we talked about this once before, but DCC said that somebody had leaked out their plan, and it was to raise the rates 2 more times. Now I don't know when that was, if that was the previous one and then this one, or if it was this one and one more afterwards. But that was the rumor mill that was being passed around. So yeah, I mean, we definitely, I think we see 25 points this time. As for the next one, that could be the pause. I think personally, makes sense for it to happen. Maybe they go one extra just for good measure. I don't really know. I don't think like you said, at this point, people have this all factored in. It doesn't really affect us in this space too much. But it will be, it'll be nice to see some positive sentiment coming back to all of the markets. So, I'm hoping for one more, and then that's it. But if we get two, it's not really a big deal. The halvening isn't until April of next year. So, right before that is when things go bullish. Then there's a sell-off, and then it runs. So, that's how much time we have. So it's going to be, early next year until we start to see some positive movement, probably, especially in the Bitcoin space. But I think it could happen a little earlier for us in PulseChain once things get turned around here.
I think it definitely could, but I'm pretty much in agreement with you. And we said this, you're right, a few weeks ago that we pretty much pegged that July FOMC, which I forget the date. I think it's the very end of July, the 31st. We pretty much pegged that as this is when the pivot will take place. So we're lining up to look just like that right now. So we'll keep an eye on that from the Fed. Again, not that we're overly concerned about it at this point, but we'll definitely keep our eyes on it for sure. These last few weeks have been a whirlwind as far as our shows because PulseChain gets launched. That's pretty much all we're talking about, the PulseChain Richard Hart Hex ecosystem. And tonight's not going to be all that different from that because just really the best thing going in crypto. It suddenly is one of the top layer ones. Something that people are forgetting, 2 weeks, just slightly over 2 weeks of this thing operating, we've got people already ready to jump off a bridge. I got to start here, Ewok. Okay. So we DM'd back and forth about what all we wanted to talk about tonight. I mean, I think you and I agree on the answer to this proposition. And that doesn't necessarily lead to a long conversation, but I do think we have to have a bit of a conversation on this eHEX pHEX, hex on PulseChain, hex on Ethereum debate. I don't even really know what to call it. But we've had, I mean, this has been the biggest dramedy basically of the last week or so in PulseChain. And for the better part of 2 years, I mean, everywhere I really looked at, I'll let you, I want to hear your thoughts too, but everybody has just kind of assumed parity with these two. Actually, at the point of recording right now, or on our live stream, I should say, we are at the closest gap I have seen in quite a few days here, at about 15% difference between PulseChain hex and Ethereum hex. We have PulseChain at about 1.38 cents and eHEX at 1.2 cents roundabout. It was at about 30% difference. So that it's funny, right after everything we've been seeing this past week, the gap has halved actually.
Yeah.
But first off, I mean, like, everybody pretty much talked about these things being in parity. So I have so many angles to this question. So let me just tear that layer off first. Like, for the last 2 years, and now suddenly everything's been reversed. I mean, all that you had basically seen from people covering PulseChain, some of your thoughts, kind of the, Hart's Law, everything being correlated, some of the things Johnny Chaos has been talking about a lot lately, which has been great. I mean, you've really only seen and kind of assumed parity, I assume. Let me know like what you were seeing leading up to all this, what your assumption has been, and kind of your synopsis of how people are reacting a mere 2 weeks after this thing launches.
Okay, so I think it first starts when you see the FUD about let it die, do whatever, stuff like that.
Meaning hex on Ethereum.
Yeah, the hex on Ethereum. So, you've got, we'll start with the clips of Richard, many times stating that he wants to see hex expensive on all chains, anywhere that it's at, right? So that's the first thing. And then somebody throws in this clip of him talking about a fork and a divorce. Well, he was addressing Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash when he was talking about that. And, he did say the sum of both chains will always be greater than just the one. But he was referring to Bitcoin Cash wanting to do different things with the block sizes. And, they wanted to make some change. And the regular Bitcoiners didn't want to do that. So in a sense, that divorce was good. But again, you have all these conversations of him stating that he wants to see hex expensive everywhere. And I think what really transpired was there were a bunch of people that played the market, sold their eHEX, and now they're saying let it die because they don't care about it. And that's what you're seeing. I think that is honestly a lot of what's going on. People speculated early, and they sold a lot of big portions of eHEX, and now they're gone and they don't care about it, and now they're saying let it die because they don't have any financial interest in it. So
Right.
what do they care? Or they sold out trying to get it lower and make a profit. So there's a couple things there too. A lot of this behavior that you see a lot of times is not benevolent. It's not someone trying to do you a favor. It's trying to get you to get out. It's shaking out weak hands. Exactly. Andrew said it there. Got to get the weak hands out first. And maybe they're hoping to buy lower. Maybe they sold their whole bag. It's eHEX won't die. It's not going to die. You got whales that have a lot of capital in there that have major 15-year stakes. They're not going to let it die. They're going to protect the price of what they own. And there will be probably some whale games going on, but it's not going anywhere. And I'm not selling any of mine either. Like, I'm not going to, import economic energy from Ethereum over to PulseChain just because it doesn't make sense. You got a copy for a reason. And you play those copies smart. If you want to make, I think at this point, longer stakes on PulseChain because the fees will be better, great. Shorter stakes on Ethereum, great. You could also do a lot of the stake pools. People forget about those. There's pools out there. The Maximus guys created some of those pools. get in with a couple other people, and that way you all share the gas. So, there's options, and it's not going anywhere. And again, I just, every time I see it, I shake my head. Are they doing it for views? Are they doing it for clicks? Are we going to stream hours and hours about it just to create some drama? Like, I don't know. It baffles me, for something that we fought so hard for 2.5, 3 years, to suddenly up and say, just let it die.
It's
It
yeah.
doesn't make sense. So no, I'm not going to let it die, and I think there's a lot of others that are, in the same camp. Until Richard Hart comes out and says, "I really want everyone to pool their energy." Well, even then, that doesn't mean it's got to happen, because um, he's not going to dictate what a lot of people decide to do. So, as the values go up and down, the share rates change too. So you have to
Mhm.
understand that if more people leave the Ethereum side, their hex per T share payout is going to be greater. I still keep in mind that this is a self balancing system, and the contracts are going to even out. There's going to be arbitrage bots that are going to even stuff out. Yes, they did pull the incentive for the eHEX pHEX pair. I'm
Mhm.
not sure why that was done. I still haven't figured that out yet, but maybe they were waiting till the parity did get a little bit closer to put it back up. I don't know. I still haven't heard the reasoning behind that. Nothing was said about it, but you know, that's my take on it, man. It's just it's not going anywhere. So
I am kind of with you, just kind of, and again, assuming, but like with pulling that liquidity providing pair, I do think it might have been just seeing all of these people that maybe had been, responsible investors in the past that were emergency end staking to bridge over and things like that. Maybe it was just too much too soon, so they felt like it would be in the best interest, try to save people from themselves, kind of a thing. But I will say, and I agree with you 100% that, and I'm not going to name names. I said it to one of the people that I think is doing it, but I think that some of it is simply engagement farming. I think like some of the constant tweets about it. If you are somebody that follows PulseChain and Hex stuff a lot, you already know who I'm talking about. But the constant tweets about it, constant videos about it. It's starting to just kind of be a LARP, and I said that to him. Um, and I don't think he's making it up necessarily, but like to continue going on about it and be like the heel, that guy all of a sudden getting clicks. It just smells funny to me. So I don't know that person and some of the other people really believe what they're saying all that much. But I do agree with you though, Ewok. I think that you know for every argument people can make that like why is Pulse Chain superior to Ethereum? Yeah, I think you pretty much check every box. But whenever you start to check boxes about the product of Hex and it existing on two very prominent chains now, um, I think you can pretty much sell me on any reason that anybody would take any action on these things. And for so many people to be as long staked out, like you said, for the better part of 3 years, a lot of people in this community making hours and hours long footage of how to stake Hex on Ethereum, how staking works, the Hex contract. They're just not going to give it up. And the people that are doing that right now and actually going like full blown, like black pill and emergency in staking, I do not think are going to be happy with their results in the long run. Obviously, that's probably why so many people are pissed off right now because eHEX has been dumping, pHEX has been dumping, PulseChain, PulseChain, everything's been dumping.
mhm.
So, if you're selling your Hex on Ethereum, I, I don't know that Hex on Ethereum at this very moment at just over a penny is an exponentially worse buy than anything else in this ecosystem. I think PulseChain will probably be a better buy at this exact moment in time, but I'm just saying that people are just writing it off. And as long as it has traded so far below the ratio of Hex on PulseChain, which again, that gap is narrowing as we speak as the prices plunge. Um, I just think it's a good buy. So, and the other
Yeah.
thing, well, go ahead if you had a thought on that because I want to bounce another
No, I
angle.
agree. I agree. I agree. I totally agree. I think this Robert Lucas is kind of off. He says he pulled the eHEX pHEX pool because eHEX was bringing down pHEX's liquidity was tied to it, but I don't believe that's what it is. I think there's a lot more economic energy right now. I think there's a lot of people that got in, bought a lot of hex because they were told to. What's the best thing to buy before the fork? Well, everybody said buy hex, and then they ended up doing silly things with it. They sold it for DAI or USDC, and then they bridged it over and realized they couldn't do anything anyway. So the people that a lot of people didn't do it the right way. They didn't bridge the hex over. They sold first, and that did cause the price to come down. So there's a lot of newbies entering the space that don't understand what's really going on, that were dragging the price down. Now, when there is something new, they're going to trade it off for the other thing. Hex is just as well tied to Pulse and PulseX. So everything was bringing everything down. It wasn't just eHEX. It wasn't just eHEX that was bringing it down. It was everything because of the liquidity that's tied to it. You had a bunch of sacrificers. So I don't know if you want to get into this topic yet or not, but so my take on it was you had a bunch of sacrificers for PulseChain. Most of them were the Richard Hart followers. Most of them have diamond hands, hex mentality, not going to sell. There was then the PulseX sacrifice, which people started to hear about, and you had a lot more people get in that weren't from that community, that were more, they wanted to see shit happen immediately, overnight. Just it was a lottery ticket mentality. I'm going to buy this. It's going to go up real quick because of all this buy and burn and all this positive news and great things. And, maybe I'll make a 2x or 5x. And, it did go up. I think it went up 2 or 3x there from the beginning, and they sold, which brought everything down because, liquidity's not established enough yet. So when it came down, it brought everything down. And, I still think it was the sacrificers that didn't have the core belief of what Richard has been teaching all along, to hold. You've got to hold through this shit. If you want to see the gains that we saw the last time, you have to put up with the FUD. You've got to put up with the dips. You've got to go, everything that goes with it. You've got to sit through it and not let it bother you. And that didn't happen. So, it's just, that was my take on everything pulling down. And I think maybe that's why the liquidity got pulled from the two, is because it really shouldn't have affected the eHEX price. But it did. And by the time it was pulled, it had already brought it down. So just my take on that whole scenario too. So,
well, I will shout out Robert in the comments there for the one thing, because he kind of he did say one thing that I want to touch on, is that when I'm seeing this debate, which again, classified as a debate, I guess it is one. I just think that the people that are saying that, well, here's the thing. I'll just say my point. When you're seeing these arguments, nobody's ever really specifying what their point is with Hex on Ethereum. Are you saying that it's dead? Which again, Robert right there was claiming that's not what he's saying. But if you are, though, what does that even mean? Does that mean go to zero? Does that mean just isn't in parity? Are you just saying that it's not going to be in parity with PulseChain? Define parity then. Because, Richard on past streams, and this makes total sense. Like, none of us, and maybe we are all guilty of this, but like when you think of parity, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's got to be like these things are just trading 100% of the time at the exact same price. We talk about like correlation between Bitcoin and the S&P 500 or something like that, or different, correlation in different markets. These things can still, on a long-term chart, be correlated to each other. And there's a highly likely probability they are going to be, because they're all part of the same pool. There's the same investors are in this, the same liquidity is in this. So just because there was a period 2 weeks into the launch that they were like 30% apart, And again, it may go back there. I'm not saying it's not going to. I'm not saying because the gap is narrowing at this moment that it's not going to go back. But, I've seen Richard on past streams as well say, hey, that can mean at one time, PulseChain is here, eHEX is here. Maybe eHEX ekes out in front of it a little bit. I mean, imagine that day now when eHEX actually is trading it over a 1-to-1 to PulseChain
I
hex.
I think you're going to see a lot of divergence. I think you're going to have parities where it kind of, it does this and then pivots
Yeah,
and then
crosses.
pivots again. You're going to have discrepancy the whole time, because I think there are going to be people that are going to take advantage of the opportunity to buy the cheaper one. The contract's the same. Yes, the gas fees are going to suck on Ethereum, but some people don't care about that. If your bag's big
Right.
enough, there's a lot of whales that don't care about $1,000 unstake fee. Now, for the small players who are just getting in, yes, I would recommend them to buy on PulseChain because it's more affordable. But what happens when they do a 15-year stake? If we have half of the adoption of Ethereum on PulseChain, the fees could get out of hand. Then we might have to fork it again just to save it.
Right.
Now, I think Richard can probably make some changes where S-load levels are decreased. It doesn't cost as much to do those transactions. But who knows? I really don't know. It's one of those things where you don't know what's going to happen in that long. 15 years is a long time. So we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, for the new smaller buyers who want to do smaller stakes, then yes, PulseChain is probably the place to be. But it doesn't mean you probably shouldn't hold a little bit of eHEX. You may not have to stake it, but you could see some pretty good returns on that side too. So it's just my opinion.
I think you'll definitely see good returns. And I actually, I know I cite him a lot, but I think that's because he's probably the new best voice in this ecosystem and stuff. But your friend Sami, like Sami was saying the other day, I think the best way to look at the eHEX pHEX chart right now, that ratio chart, and with it going down, is to simply look at it instead of like arguing eHEX or pHEX or whatever. Use that as a descriptor that we are in a risk off environment right now. Like
Mhm.
people just are selling that eHEX, they're not buying it up, and it'll become a more sought after commodity here as we get further into this. I saw Randy Hilarski last night. Shout out to him. Always bringing good stuff. He was talking last night about like we are still so far from like bullish times, and
Oh
you and
yeah,
I have said. I mean, like, we do think this is a new cycle and all that stuff, but we aren't in bullish times yet.
no.
Give it a year from now, give it almost 18 months from now. I mean, we're going to be in a better place before 18 months from now. I'm just saying eh, that is a long time in crypto. And what we're seeing right now, I mean, we still have some blood out there. And, maybe we even get ahead of ourselves too. I mean, we're prepared for it, but I mean, we've been kind of bullish on this stream generally in the market for almost 4 months now, just as far as like the world not ending in terms of the crypto market.
Yeah,
But I mean, that still doesn't mean we are in bullish times. So
right.
some of this, I think, is a stark reminder for some people. And I think they're just really upset because they waited 2 years and now everything is, not how they want it to be. So,
Yeah, well, it's going to be that way. I mean, that's what happens when new chains launch. We said it. I said it going back even way before it did launch. I said, look at some of the other charts. Look at what happens when they launch. It's no different. It's going to dip. And I don't know if now's a good time to pull up the old hex chart here.
yeah.
There's the first 33 days down to the bottom. You know,
Yep. Yep.
you've got this whole dip. You're looking from here down is 80% off
That's right.
from the launch. But then it proceeded to do from there 732
Hmm.
percent gain. So
Yeah.
but it did a lot of that. Like, this is, I mean, it's funny to see how this chart,
Now, when
and
you look back,
yeah, but this is the stuff that we've been talking about. This is the stuff you've got to sit through. And all of these dips, from here to here was another dip. And then it had a massive run up. And then here to here was another dip. So it's funny when all this stuff plays out, what you've got to sit through. And they say all the OGs were lucky. They were lucky, not, and then on top of it, not just the chart, but all the FUD, all the people throwing
Mhm.
mud and saying how Hex was a scam and this and that. It was just, you know, it was a lot to deal with back then. And these people that are seeing it now, they haven't seen anything. It's still comical when there was a bug. There wasn't even a bug in the contract,
Mhm.
but the liquidity providers were not getting their fees. They were getting the incentive token, but they weren't getting the fees because there was it was a script error. It wasn't really a bug. Nothing broke because of it. It was just that all the coins got burned, instead went to the buy and burn instead of being divvied out to the liquidity providers, which I
Yeah.
haven't seen very many liquidity providers complaining. It's all everybody else that's causing this. It's funny how that works, right? The
Yeah, the
people
people that
that
aren't
were
even really
affected,
affected. Yeah.
right, aren't the ones. The people that were affected aren't the ones complaining. It's everybody else. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny to me to see how people can get their panties in a bunch and get upset about silly stuff and cause a stir over nothing. It's just it's funny, and I like I said, they haven't seen anything, and this is nothing compared to what it was like 4 years ago. So
And yeah, actually, if anything, that bug within PulseX has really just,
no, it's
benefited
beneficial. Yeah,
PulseX holders. Yeah, I mean, that's
absolutely.
really all that's done so far. So, um, yeah, it's been absolutely crazy so far, and it's a lot. You're right; it is a lot of people's first time through this, and I have a few other angles I want to look at this from, and another thing specifically with Hex. But if you guys are here and digging the stream so far, we do it every single Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hit the like; we very much appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel. It is called the Creed of Crypto. I'm Broke Boi Crypto. That is Crypto Ewok. I want to just real quick. And maybe we can have you just run through like how it actually works, Ewok. But we are going to get, and I don't want to take this for granted, we are going to get more and more new viewers over the course of this year, exponentially more next year, the year after that, 2024, 2025. I think it's necessary right now with all of this, call it FUD, call it drama, whatever you want to, but everything going on with PulseChain. And as you alluded to, a lot of these people that are getting into this market right now, or this sector of DeFi, um, we're really into the new layer one. Like people just absolutely love layer ones.
Hmm.
And obviously Pulse Chain I think is great and is going to continue to be great. But I think we need to restate a little bit about what Hex really is and why, for Pulse Chain to exist and for there to be this fever pitch around Pulse Chain, it couldn't have happened without Hex already being there first. That really was, Richard's first creation, making a better Bitcoin, a better store of value. Um, so I want to get your thoughts real quick. And if you were, I'll put it to you this way, because clearly we have a lot of people right now that aren't really that interested in Hex. They just want to buy like the new thing that's going to go up the most. And hey, more power to you if that's what you want to do. I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say that I think the Pulse token's probably the best buy of this ecosystem right now. But we also want to even be looking, beyond this. And again, Hex was kind of the engine of this whole thing. So, Ewok, could you kind of do your elevator pitch anyway, or at least for some of these people anyway, to remind them like why Hex has this fever pitch around it, what that smart contract is really all about, and how what its actually intent is to get people to focus on long-term gratification and not so much so zoomed in to every single day like we're doing right now.
Sure. So Hex started out as the marketing on it was it was a blockchain certificate of deposit. The
Hmm.
idea was delayed gratification. It was to pay your future self and delay the gratification by locking up your coins in one of the very few. There might be one or two others, but most people were wanting yield, right? When you have Bitcoin, you can't get yield without giving it to a centralized party. So the reason Hex was created was because you want to create yield, but you don't want to trust middlemen. Okay. The middlemen suck most of the time. You give money to somebody to loan it out to make a little bit of yield. And 95% of the time, something happens to it, right? Your money's gone. They either go bankrupt because they over leverage themselves, or they just mismanage it and pay the new people, or pay the old people with the new people until they run out of money. But either way, most of the time the money's gone. The idea of Hex is to lock up your own money in your own contract, in your own wallet, and earn yield trustlessly without middlemen. And that is the goal. It's the delayed gratification of the contract. So I mean, I don't know if you want me to get into what it really does, um, and the share system, because that's the beauty of hexes, or the T shares, or
Yeah,
the
hit us with
shares, or
hit us with the the nicest concise one you can. And I think what you could also do too, like you were already saying, is like Hex on Ethereum, which everybody's just throwing out the window right now. How those T shares, the share system, could benefit you even more right now with the exodus from Hex on Ethereum.
okay. So look at the stakes as a big pie. Okay,
Hmm.
everybody that makes a stake. So the way the contract works is you put hex in to the contract, you determine how many days you want to lock it up. It then burns those tokens, so they're gone from the supply. Um, and then you're issued what we call shares. So, you know, as time goes on, the shares get more expensive. The share rate can only go up. So over time, it's harder and harder to obtain these things. Um, hang on one second here.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
you're good.
So as time goes on, the share rate goes up. It can only go up. Every time somebody ends a stake, it looks to see if you've made more profit than before. If so, then the share rate increases slowly. The reason that is, and the what that does, is it stops the little person, not the little person, but the short stakers from compounding. So rather than do a whole bunch of 30-day stake, 30-day stake, 30-day stake, each time they do a 30-day stake, the share rate is going to be higher and they're going to get less shares. Now, the shares are how you get paid. So say you get say you get 10 T shares, for example. At the end of every day, 8 p.m. Our time, but
Mhm.
0 UTC, the payout for that day is calculated. So it's based on how much of the pie you own, along with all the penalties. Now, if you don't do what you say you're going to do, there's penalties. Like it penalizes you for not honoring what you said you were going to do. Early end stakes, things like that. If you don't end your stake whenever it's done, you have 2 weeks, and they start to bleed out by 1% a week. So essentially, you have 2 years to get it out, but 1% a week will bleed it slowly. So all those
2 weeks
penalties,
to get it out. You said
you have
2 years.
2 years, but then, or you have 2 weeks to get it out before penalties start, but you have 2 years before your
I see what
stake
you're
is
saying.
completely gone.
My bad. I got
It's
you.
basically 100 weeks, which is
Yeah.
just under 2 years. But either way, it will bleed your entire stake, including your principal too, not just the yield that you earned. So, um, but anyway, it's calculated daily, and then the payout is calculated on a per share basis. So every day you're earning more. That's why some of these fees are so high, because it does take a lot of gas to do those. It will go back in to calculate how many hacks you earned every single day. And then it pays you at the end of it. So it is a delayed inflation model. Um, but the fewer people that are in the system, the higher the rate is, because obviously that's more of the piece of pie that you own. Okay.
Right.
Now, the overall shares will pretty much always go down because of the share rate system. So it's going to be harder and harder to obtain those. And that's why a lot of people have locked them up for the maximum of 15 years, so that they could get the max return on their investment, and lock them up for the longest period of time. If you only lock it up for 1 year, then at the end of that year, the shares are gone, your hex is minted, and then you have to start over again. So you have to buy back in, at a higher share rate, and it takes more hex to get the same amount of T shares that you had before. So,
Right.
it is the store of value. It's the store of value. It's the reason PulseChain exists, in the first place, because the fees got crazy. Now, hopefully, the horizontal scaling that is PulseChain will help with Ethereum, and I think a lot of people may come over to our side, and run some of these higher gas intensive contracts, things like that, because it is more affordable for their community. And hopefully by doing that, it will lower the Ethereum fees for the hex on that side too. So
Yeah.
that's my spiel on what hex is. And like I said, it's difficult to understand. There's a lot packed into that. There's a lot of game theory. There's a lot of mechanics that go into uh, how great it really is. But the rates that you get for your yield are incredible. Like, yes, the coin can go up and down in value. That's the only really unknown of the whole ecosystem, is you don't know what the coin will be worth. But you always know that you're going to get paid. Like I said before, that's the beauty of it, is that contract will make sure that you get paid every day, that you have a stake. So,
And that's the thing. Thank you for that, Ewok. And I think that's the thing that many people will get back to as the, not saying that it's, I know this thing just launched, so I'm not saying it's going to happen anytime soon, but as the shine of Pulse Chain, dulls a little bit in a couple of years, I think people might be reminded of why Hex was the first love, so to speak. I mean, that's why people wanted this, because, there isn't a lot of stability in crypto, and you have to make sure that you are aggressively buying the lows and selling when nobody else wants to at the top of the market, and that is
right.
extremely hard to do. And
Yep.
for most people, I mean, like for a lot of people, something like Hex really is kind of a savior. A lot of people were day traders before that, or even swing traders or something of the sort, and being able to earn that kind of yield, you don't get those percentages of yield in too many spots in crypto, especially with this kind of uptime that we've seen with the Hex contract for over 3 years now. So
Yep.
yeah, I think it's going to be something that people are reminded of as we get further into this. But
And I do
let me,
agree with your statement where, Pulse Chain right now is the new shiny thing. And
Mhm.
we'll probably have some pretty good gains for people that get in. Obviously, the people that get into Hex now aren't going to see the gains that we got from 3 years ago. So I think they're pivoting a little bit, but I think they're still underestimating the possibility of what could happen when the financial space actually sees what's happening with the non-custodial yield, and it becomes quite attractive to some pretty big players that may want to generate yield, that do have a little bit of risk tolerance. So,
yeah,
we could see some pretty nice gains, and who's to say that we couldn't, get another 1000x out of Hex this cycle, and maybe that's all that Pulse Chain does too. So I mean, it could be very, very close. Now down the road, I think, if you're buying in now, obviously for a long-term horizon, which there don't seem to be too many of those, because everybody wants to make that 5x and go. It just seems,
yeah,
it's funny. So I do think over time, people that come into the space will notice what Hex is. The hexagons aren't going anywhere, and I think they'll realize that, hey, this may be the actual ticket here. Because you can set it, forget it, come back when your stake is done, and rinse and repeat. So it's pretty nice, especially when you have them and you're able to set up a laddered staking, succession like that. It makes it pretty nice, where, like I said, check in once a month, once a quarter, every 6 months, however you want to set it. If you want a nice little paycheck every 6 months, set it out. You could do that for the next 15 years and then just keep setting one. Every 6 months, you put another one out for 15, and it's a never ending cycle of just passive income.
Yeah, and I think we can also restate that at some point too, maybe on a another episode later this year. But like how staking ladders work and stuff. I think there is going to be a need for like people to kind of come back to understanding the different ways and like you said, the mechanics of how to use hex because it's not going to be the thing that people are focused on right now. I mean, clearly they're not even living out the terms of their stakes, their emergency end staking to buy other
Yeah,
stuff that's then dipping even lower. So, yeah, definitely a lot to talk about for that. But good summation there for sure. I want to ask you this, Ewok. Now, I mean, everybody's different with what they're trying to get into right now in terms of DCAing into this market. Again, with everything dipping, I mean, we have the macro crypto market dipping a lot the last couple of weeks. And of course, everything that's going on with PulseChain right now you hypothetically, and you can talk about what you are actually doing or even hypothetically, but what are you most interested in DCAing into right now? And for some people who, again, I always like to go with who probably the average person is that's watching this, which would be somebody that is either maybe totally new to this entirely and heard about it maybe after the PulseX a good year and a half ago after the PulseX sacrifice phase, or they did sack for PulseX but didn't have a chance to sack for Pulse. Those are the most common people. We know that the data is there. There was about 3 times more sackers, if you will, for PulseX than there was
right.
PulseChain. So if you're those people, how are you kind of going about DCAing right now, and what is it that you want to get into? And I'll let you take it like whatever route you want to go. Like hypothetically thinking about what else they may have, because that PulseChain price is looking really juicy right now. I mean,
Sure
we
is.
are almost back to the sack rate.
Yep.
It's at 4 zeros and a 118. It looks like right now. So, or excuse me, that was PulseX, my bad. That actually I combined them to both actually. It's 3 zeros and a 1-1 because obviously the sack rate would be 3 zeros and a 1.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, what is it? Are you aping into that right now? How much room do you think there is for this thing to drop? I was going to say this earlier and I forgot. We're on day, I believe it'd be like 18 or 19 right now since PulseChain launched on May the 12th. Infamously, you talk about Hex on day 33 was where it reached its bottom. So we are,
Getting close.
over halfway anyway. It does mean it has to do the same thing. I'm not saying that that is necessarily true, but man, it sure feels like kind of prime capitulation right now. I mean, we're seeing a lot of, weak sentiment right now. So yeah, if you're that average person, what are you looking at right now?
Well, I'll be honest. I bought both Pulse and PulseX today.
Mm-hmm.
I swapped out of some of the incentives that I earned for providing liquidity, and got a little bit of both of those today. It was a good opportunity. If it goes down lower, I'll get a little bit more. I mean, I'm going to be a buyer until I see something turn around, at least, especially on some big red days. So yeah, I mean, I think that's and you're right. There's still a lot of people that have PulseX out there that don't even have any pulse. They can't transact. They're still stuck. We do know the bridge is working good.
Mm-hmm.
So there's people are able to get economic energy over, but they're still, if they don't have pulse, it's hard for them to buy it. So if they do buy the wrapped pulse that is on Ethereum, then they still have to unwrap it when it gets over to PulseChain. And if they don't, again, if you don't have pulse, you're kind of stuck. So there's a lot of people that haven't been able to make any moves. And, we are definitely looking forward to the the OX Coast team. Their fiat on ramp is coming soon. We still have the not liquid loans. We have the Power City, their cross chain exchange that will go to native Pulse. So there's still a lot to come, and it can only get better with the energy. Like I said, right now we're seeing a lot of negative sentiment, things like that, a lot of FUD. It's nothing like nothing compared to 3.5 years ago. But it's there. I mean, it's easier because I've been there before. So it doesn't bother me. But I can see how a lot of the newer people in the space are taking it, and they're probably freaking out right now. So
Mhm.
I I think the people, I don't know that I would recommend anybody buy the incentive token. I know we had talked about it before. The price has pretty much done nothing but go down. But again, everything's tied together. So as one thing lowers, everything is going to lower until we get some more economic energy coming back into the system, where it's easy to on ramp, it's easy to get some new cash in there. Things could go down for another couple weeks, probably 2 weeks. Wouldn't it be funny though if it bottomed on day 33 as well? I mean, that'd be pretty cool.
Be pretty crazy. And you just reminded me of another point because I'm noticing this happen with myself. Like sometimes sometimes just the way that money kind of flows in the world and some of the things we bitch about, even in legacy finance, as far as like things not being liquid enough or your money being tied up in a 401k that you regret putting in when it's your money, how hard it is to access and stuff like
Hmm.
that, or whatever it is, like how you have to, give your kids social security and a kidney to the bank, to get something out. But sometimes some of those practices can help save you from yourself a little bit too, because it's like how many people I can say I may have like would have maybe like FOMO'd in to every dip so far, or maybe even up higher than where we are now, and then don't have any dry powder, and
Yeah,
sometimes just that lag of like, I gotta wait for the USDC to clear from the bank, or I gotta wait for,
right.
sometimes those little mechanics force you to DCA, which is
Yeah.
good. It also helps
Well,
protect
it's
you from
good
yourself.
now. It's good now. In a bull market, it's terrible because that price
Right.
starts to run away from you, and then you look back and be like, "Man, it was it was 1 cent, 2 weeks ago when I tried to get my money out. Now that I have it, it went up 10 cents. That's a
Yeah.
big difference when you're talking amount of X's that you can get. So, yeah, as much as right now is a good time, that it is kind of good that there are people probably trying to get money over that are being held up.
Hmm.
But there are bad times too. Like in the heat of a bull market, it can really it can screw you up on your returns.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely can. But yeah, it's just an interesting thought I had today. But yeah, people are going to be still buying these lows, and just be patient. I mean, like we're seeing another dip kind of this evening. And yeah, like you said, I think over the next 2 weeks it's going to be key just to continue to watch these. And I already said it. We said it a whole bunch earlier, but don't sleep on eHEX because
Yep.
it is probably the most depressed price right now. Not straight up parity with PHEX on PulseChain. So I'm definitely keeping my eye on
Yeah.
that too. So
Well, the
um,
arbitrage
yeah,
bots haven't even kicked in, and I think
right.
Andrew had asked earlier, what does arb mean? They're bots that buy up the price on one side, sell on the other to keep them within a close range anyway.
Mm,
You know, we talk about parity a lot, but I don't think they're ever going to move in step together
right.
exactly. I think there's always going to be a little bit of a premium, a little bit of discount on one or the other. They'll stay close, but there could always be the better one, and that may be Pulse Chain, but I think eHEX will be right behind it. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. And kind of the way in terms that I'm looking at my portfolio right now, and I kind of always keep these things ebbing and flowing, especially with how, we're seeing huge fluctuations, of course, right now too. But I've kind of decided on, I think, like a basically twice the amount of hex across both chains than I have either Pulse Chain or PulseX. So I'm still, mostly allocated in hex and definitely expect over $1 valuation at the top of the bull market on both chains. So that's really what I'm looking at. And then, you got to remember too, I mean, like a lot of that, depending on who you are, may already be staked that you didn't want to mess with. I like to always, as we've talked about before, keep a lot of it liquid. And then I have, a Pulse Chain and a Pulse X allocation then under that. So it's basically
yep.
just, to keep it simple, I mean, just if you're undecided on what to buy because everything seems like a great opportunity, just buy whatever the cheapest thing is. And because a lot of these things in this ecosystem are going to kind of roll along together, you can rotate whenever it makes sense. As long as it's not hyper trading and stuff like that. So that's what's been working for me so far. What do we got for bridge there?
Briz says, I think a lot of people are bridging over their eHEX could become super scarce, be the dark horse super performer in the next bull run. That is true too. It doesn't, everyone talks about the supply, but what they fail to mention is the lack of how much hex there is actually for sale. And as that amount diminishes, it doesn't take much for that price to run up. And the only problem is it does stop bigger investors from getting in. You can't just drop a million bucks into it in one buy. They've got to break it up if they're smart about it anyway. So yeah, it does become scarce. More of it gets locked up, the more that that price can really rocket. So it also can dump pretty quickly too. So we'll see.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah, we've got a couple other things to touch on that we were going to get to last week that I think are important. And if you guys are here and enjoying the stream, hit the like, subscribe to the Creative Crypto channel. We appreciate you guys tuning in. These are tax related, so just a fair warning to anybody who wants to tune out at this point. But I think it's important. So Ewok, we talked about this for a minute last week, but you were kicking the tires on Koinly, which we both have raved about in the past as far as being like the best crypto tax service. It really is. We're not sponsored by them. We're not paid for them. We're not even partnered. We get literally nothing out of it, which is actually kind of unfair, Koinly. So hit us up. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't get much easier than using Koinly, Koinly, for your crypto taxes. You can just punch your wallet addresses in there and it calculates everything up for you. So did they actually add PulseChain yet, or did they just get enough up votes to
They have, so it hasn't been added yet. However, it went from their suggestions to their planned development, and it is first on the list of the things planned. I just looked today, actually, this afternoon, and they're, it's next on the developers list of things to do pretty much once they get a couple other things wrapped up. So yeah, that'll be coming soon. It shouldn't be too difficult for them because it is just a matter of, it's the same address as your other stuff. So it could get,
true.
It could get a little I don't know how they would do that. You're probably just going to see both. But you're going to see both things on your same address. So I don't know. It'll be interesting how they differentiate, maybe just with a pulse signal instead of a Ethereum. So
I know they would have had to do it before because PulseChain isn't necessarily the first one. I mean, they're, Phantom, Optimism. Like, I know they've probably had to include some of those as well if you're doing something on that blockchain. Although, from my experience with Phantom and stuff, I can't remember how that looked. So, yeah, we'll have to see because you're right. It will be the same address. So,
yeah, no, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. More importantly, I think, though, so potential tax implications. So, it's something that people have been kind of upset with here and there with MetaMask over the last few months. I mean, it seems like some kind of new update happens every now and then that are having people worry about the security a little bit more, and people clamoring for this new Richard Hart wallet. Randy Hilarski, I know, has been talking about, we've mentioned it before too, that Aurochs wallet as well.
Yeah.
I did pull up an article kind of detailing it, but I wanted to get your take on it first, Ewok. So we saw this news about 2 weeks ago that, or maybe it was just the beginning of last week, that MetaMask, in terms of taxes, I'm just going to, I'll actually just read their statement first and get your reaction here before we even speculate. But so essentially they put out I'm trying to actually find it here because I had it up a moment ago. They actually put out a statement on this. So MetaMask, the popular crypto wallet developed by Consensus, has dispelled speculations surrounding its alleged tax collection for cryptocurrency users. In an announcement made on May 22nd, so yeah, just over a week ago, The company on Twitter clarified that the rumors stemmed from a misinterpretation of the crypto wallet's terms of service and were grounded in inaccurate information. A tweet went viral, drawing attention to section blah, 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 which was interpreted as a change allowing the company to collect taxes. So here's what here. This is from Ash Crypto on Twitter. He said MetaMask new update in terms of policy will withhold your taxes. Decentralization is dying. So I think allegedly that was the misinterpretation. And what it actually says in the rules here on in MetaMask is all fees payable by you are exclusive taxes unless otherwise noted. We reserve the right to withhold taxes where required. So that's what it says afterwards. And I'm almost done with the spiel, but it said, however, Consensus swiftly addressed the situation. The controversial tax session and the terms of service, according to Consensus, exclusively pertains to the company's products and paid plans. It has no bearing on the taxation of on-chain crypto transactions carried out by its users. So is that against what you initially were interpreting, or what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah. So the first time I saw it, I'm like, how can they withhold taxes? Like they should not have any kind of access to anything in your wallet, which means they would have had to have access to private keys if they're pulling money out. But what I think they're doing is any kind of paid service that they may do, they're going to withhold taxes from what you send or whatever. But they don't have access to go in and just pull money out and say, okay, here's the money that you owe us in tax for doing whatever. That there should be absolutely no way. Now, who knows if we come out, and find out that places like Ledger will give people access to your keys on that gets a little scary there. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Trezor has the same thing built into it. They just didn't come out and say it. So, I don't know. I do prefer Trezor over Ledger anyway. But back to MetaMask, they're not going to yank money out of your account. They should not have access to or any way to possibly do that. It's services, and when I first heard it, I kind of thought it was more along the lines of if they give an airdrop or something like that. But then I still thought about it. I'm like, well, once you get it in your wallet, there's no way for them to take it back out. There shouldn't be anyway, unless they have something in the contract that you approve for them to spend your funds. And again, we always talk about using revoke.cash as a good tool to remove anybody's privileges or permissions that may have access to any of your accounts. So like to, touch on some security things too. Because I do know we get a lot of, newer viewers and things like that. Number one key is always do not share your seed phrase with anybody ever. There is no reason to give anybody those secret words, whether they say their support, whether they're trying to help you, or if you say you have an issue, there's nothing that they can do other than steal your money. So please always keep that in mind, and we'll say it, until we're blue in the face, but there is no reason to give anybody that seed phrase.
Yeah, and always good practice just in MetaMask too to hit that ellipses and get rid of the go to the connected sites and disconnect from anything that you haven't used in a while or whatever. Yeah, along with revoke.cash too. Finishing up on the MetaMask thing. So Consensus then tweeted, it looks like this is on May 21st. We are aware of tweets circulating with inaccurate information about Consensus's terms of service. Let's clarify one thing up front. MetaMask does not collect taxes on crypto transactions, and we have not made any changes in our terms to do so. So I guess it does seem like people were kind of misunderstanding it. And we are aware, of course, that MetaMask has different paid services, stuff like that. Nothing we really condone or have ever used or anything like that. But so it's something to definitely watch out for. I mean, it seems like at every turn with crypto, I mean, with this being a space in which, you are literally being your own bank, sometimes people do take that lightly. And it's good to keep abreast of all these situations no
Yeah.
matter what, because you get a lot tied up in these. Like if you are like a long-term hex staker, I mean, you likely did that from a MetaMask wallet, that you're going to
Yeah.
control the keys for a very long time. So it's
Yep.
important to know that. So
Yep. And it's super important. That's why you've got to keep them safe. Always know where they are. You know, obviously you may want to have a backup plan in case, in the event that something were to happen to you, for your family, or just let them die. Let the keys die, and nobody else gets it. That's kind of up to you.
right.
But whatever your backup plan is, make sure you trust them with your life. So
Yeah.
it's just it's sketchy when people hear these numbers that start to go up, and you start to see values in the 6, 7, 8 figures. People will do crazy things. So who's somebody you thought you may have trusted, that doesn't really have a whole lot, gets enticed by those figures, and they could take you out. So just be careful.
That is the thing, and that's something to remember, not only just for that, I think, but also just maybe on a positive note, just if you are here right now and you've been here throughout 2022 and you're going to be here throughout 2023, you still, even though you may feel like you're behind right now, I mean, you will be an authority. We all talk about like, we're all pretty much going to be known as the crypto guy in our actual IRL, for lack of
Yeah.
a better term. People are going to know you as that. And as the market heats up in, mid to late 2024 and deep into 2025, I think, I mean, you're going to have those people coming out of the woodwork to talk to you about stuff, try to hit you up for information and everything. So remember, I mean, it's kind of a blessing and a curse, because people will know that, and they're going to be hitting you up for advice, and who knows, maybe other stuff too. So
Yeah. Just
we'll
don't
kind
give
of
any information out that you shouldn't be giving out, or just
right.
it is nice to brag about some gains, but just be very careful, because the wrong person hears it, you become a target. It's not good. Um,
Yes. Go ahead.
no, I'm just saying it could be very dangerous for yourself. So just kind of keep a lot of it to yourself, and only talk to the people that you really trust.
Yeah, it's funny, the friends that suddenly want to reacquaint themselves with you, maybe in some of those circumstances. So,
Sure. I want to touch on this real
yeah,
quick,
go ahead.
because there's really no need to make a video on how to safeguard your seed phrase. Literally write it down, put it in a safe. You can inscribe it in metal, put it in a safe. You can split it up and put it in a couple safes. Just remember the order.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not even a big fan of using a bank security deposit box.
Mm.
Not a fan of that at all. Um,
Still
so
controlled by people, right? I mean,
yeah, it's still
you know,
controlled by somebody else. So
yeah.
you have to go to the bank and get it, and along with another key that they have, and your key, and I don't even trust that. So there's a couple ways you can get a bolt and some washers and a metal stamp kit, and stamp them on the washers and put them on the bolt. That way, if in the event of a fire, if your fire safe fails for any reason, that they're always going to be there. People scratch them in titanium. So there's really no need to make a video on it. There's already a bunch out there. Just look up different ways to safeguard your seed phrase. But the one thing you have to be really careful of typing into, even Twitter, anytime you type MetaMask, or anytime you type wallet, or um, Telegram, or things like that, there's going to be scammers. Just keep in mind that anybody that sends you a private message, offering you help or wanting you to help them, chances are they're wanting you to connect to a malicious code that's going to take control of your computer. So, just ignore any direct messages unless you actually know them and verify that they're going to message you. Um, because people clone other people's accounts too. I've seen
Mhm.
fakes of somebody that you may respect, um,
Oh, yeah.
message people, and they hijack their wallet because that person thought they knew who it was, or thought that they trusted them, and it was somebody else impersonating them. So, there's just so many ways for the scammers have gotten so creative on different ways to take your money. You just have to be extremely vigilant, and don't connect to a website. Don't somebody offers you help or money to help them manage their seed phrase or whatever. Don't believe it, man. It's not real. I get probably 10 of those a day on private messages that say, my so and so went out of town and I need help managing their wallet. And they actually give you a list of seed phrases. And then what they do is they want people to put ETH in to move the funds out, thinking, that you're going to get money. And then they just take the ETH. They just
Right.
they have an automatic thing that just kicks the ETH out of there as soon as it goes in. So yeah, just don't trust any of it.
They're definitely creative, yeah. So, yeah, and I agree with you, Walk. Yeah, just Google the different ways you could do it. There's actually products out there that you can get to back up your seed phrase. Take a look at some of those, and there's a lot of very inventive ones. So,
Yes.
yeah, check it out. There's a lot of different things you can do, whether it's just you doing something yourself at home or actually ordering a product like that. So, check it out. There's plenty of ways to do it for sure. But security always something we want to be on point with. So, yeah, Andrew. We're getting there. Not quite yet. I guess you could be in the planning stages anyway. So
Call mine 5555.
there you go. That's easy enough and easy to remember. Yeah. So I think it's going to wrap us up for this week. Again, if you guys were never here before, we do this every week, every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What does Paul have here before we go?
Yeah, let's grab this one real quick. So it's just asking the best way to buy up more PulseX, etc. I've been buying hex, then bridging and swapping. Is there a better way to do this? At the time, no, not really. If you want to buy DAI, you can. Buying up the hex price is good, and bridging it, that's one of the things that Brizology said. It does lock it in the bridge and makes it more scarce. So that's a good thing. You can buy DAI. DAI on Ethereum is actually a coin on PulseChain that you can bridge over to if you just want to stick with US dollars, so that by the time the bridge, if the bridge were to get clogged, you're not going to have any devaluation of coin or whatever. Should stay pretty tight to the dollar. So there's that or the hex. I mean, that is the best way right now until some of these exchanges come into play where you're getting the native PulseChain or PulseX or whatever it may be that they add. But yeah, for right now, that is the best way.
And I will say this too, because we were going back and forth about this Ewok. I do think USDC and even Tether are starting to kind of stabilize and maybe becoming safer to use on PulseChain. I mean, they both are pretty much right behind DAI now, it looks like, as far as TVL on PulseChain.
Okay.
Not all that far behind. So I've been partial to DAI myself. I've used it multiple times. I admittedly have not used USDC or Tether yet.
Right.
But it's up to you. I actually think that I kind of agree. I still think maybe just bridging hex is probably the best way to go, because here's the thing. If your intent is to ultimately buy PulseChain, PulseX, whatever, turning your USDC or whatever it may be into that eHEX to start with, I mean, you're getting a great buy right there. And then if you just want to rotate it into one of those other assets, that's fine. So yeah, I think that's where I would.
So the only bad thing, well, I don't say the only bad thing about that. So you're still injecting the money on the Ethereum side, right? The economic energy isn't going into PulseChain. It's just getting transferred from Ethereum. In order to get it back out, then you kind of got to go back so it's going to be weird until we get the normal onboard, or not onboard, but the normal on ramp into PulseChain to actually get some economic energy. I don't like the thought of buying things on Ethereum and then just transferring it over. I mean, I guess it's still value on the chain, but unless you're using USDC or DAI or Tether or something like that, I don't know that the price actually fluctuates a whole awful lot. You're just kind of exchanging value from hex to Pulse by doing that. And it, obviously we want the price to go up. So,
Yeah.
I don't know how much extra that pushes the prices or just kind of transfers value from one to the other where, it's not moving a whole lot. So,
Yeah, and I would say too, I'll throw this in the chat. Use this link in some of your decision making too. It's pulsecoinlist.com. We saw Coffee tweet about that earlier this week, Ewok, but that
is
has
that
some
the
nice.
is that the
Go ahead.
comparison site?
Yes, yeah, that's the comparison. It has like it'll kind of tell you that's what I was pulling those TVL numbers from. And yeah, it'll basically tell you what the parity is on hex on both chains. Even sending over your eHEX, what eHEX is showing on Ethereum and PulseChain. Basically everything. Show you a Hedron on all of them. It's a really good resource, I think, for kind of making those decisions as well. I've been kind of consulting that. So yeah, Ewok has it up right now.
Yeah,
So bookmark that one. I think it's another useful tool here as
it
we are
is.
in the early PulseChain days.
It
So
is. Along with Pulse Burn, obviously, plsburn.com. There's a lot of information. What was the one I saw earlier? Somebody had put out a. I don't know if I saved it or not.
see.
I don't think I did. The guy from Maximus, I forget his name, but he put out a nice little website with all the different sites so far with information, and I'll have to find it and put it in the chat or something like that too. But yeah,
I'm
it
going to
was
throw this in the chat too. I saw this earlier today, and when I just Googled PulseChain, saw this as well to potentially mark the bottom here. Coindesk finally posted an article about PulseChain. The PulseChain sideshow tent is collapsing. That was today with
nice. So
David
we need
Z.
a couple
Morris.
more of those. We need a couple more of these articles to come out to get the real.
Yeah.
I forget who it was. I think Bob or Robert Lucas said something earlier. He thinks we're pretty much at max
Robert
pain.
Lucas in the chat or Bob Lucas on Twitter?
Well, is that Robert Lucas in the chat here?
I think it is. Yeah. Crazy. I didn't
Maybe it
even
is
realize
Bob.
that.
Maybe it is Bob Lucas.
Maybe it is him. Yeah. I don't know.
Paying us a
What was your
visit.
point, though?
My point was, we need a couple more of these articles to come out. We,
Yeah.
The max pain hasn't happened yet. So I'm just giving everybody a heads up warning that, if you think it's bad, it could get a little worse. So just hang in there. It will be on the upswing here as soon as as soon as you know it. Walk outside, take a walk, get away from it if it's bothering you. People, but the last thing you want to be doing now is sell at the bottom. Now's the time to be buying accumulation. The next, we'll probably have a good 6-8 months of good accumulation period on some of these dips that you see. It could go up a little bit, but it'll pull back down. So, those are the times that you want to be accumulating, especially if you didn't get a chance to sacrifice.
So David Z. Morris, who wrote this article, it reads very much like somebody from Bankless wrote it, and
Oh,
it says in his bio he
more
holds
estrogen.
in his bio he holds Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and small amounts of other crypto assets. So who knows what all is true there? But yeah, I'll hit you up. Well, I'm not gonna go that far. I was gonna put his bio in the chat, but
No,
yeah,
don't do that. Don't
check out the
advertise for
article
them.
anyway. Yeah, check out. I mean, the article's funny. I mean, it's just dog shit. I mean, just like all these are. So interesting. Yeah, you're right. We probably need a couple of more, but it's nice to see its beginning. So
Heavy Wing, I want to touch this too because
so we got people just clocking in at the lot. We are trying to wrap up the show.
I know we are, but
I'm
see, this is the mentality that people aren't getting. If you're telling people max pain hasn't happened yet, you're basically saying this is not the bottom. So doesn't that mean you sell? Think about your messaging. No, man, it means you buy. This is the time to be buying. If you bought a little bit higher and then you buy again when it goes down, you're decreasing the average buy-in price that you have. Don't sell. Now is not the time to sell, especially if you bought it higher. That's losing money. Like, I don't understand how my messaging is getting confused. You want to dollar cost average in as it goes down. Don't dump thinking you're going to get a better price. What if it doesn't? That's where you've got to be careful. by saying that, because no, it means if it runs away from you, then you've done a good job. If it goes lower, then you buy a little bit more. So keep in mind when we're bottoming like this, it's about your average cost entry, not trying to sell and then buy lower, because if that never happens, then you may have to buy higher. We could get one crazy big green candle and that experiment is gone. So
I think heavy wing is just looking at it from a low time frame. Like, we're not saying that we are confident it might go a little bit lower, so sell now and then buy more. We're not. None of us are thinking like that. Like, we're thinking about buying now and holding until 2025 plus potentially. So this is a longer time frame than that. So
yeah.
Thinking on that short of a time frame is useless. If you're going to be underwater for a little bit, a couple weeks, couple months, maybe with some buys, but that's just crypto. I mean, everybody's underwater right now. So, yeah. All right. Anybody else chiming in? I don't think we have any more. Okay, cool.
Andrew
well, hey, this is a good time.
Andrew said no one buys the bottom, but
no one buys the bottom. We try to.
If you buy enough, if you DCA enough, you will hit the bottom. Just remember that.
You sometimes will. Short story for you. I thought I bought the dead nuts hex bottom in 2022. It's now a half penny under that again.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at it,
I got in on day 33. I will admit that I did buy the actual bottom. So
there you go. Yeah.
Count me
lucky. You never know what's around the corner. So we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Hit the like before you get out of here. Really thankful for all you guys' comments, questions. We do it every single Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a Crypto Crypto podcast. For my friend and co-host, Crypto Ewok, this has been Boi Crypto. We'll catch you next week on the Creed of Crypto podcast. HEXPassiveIncome.com. My friend Crypto Coffee has created what I think is probably the best course for a new cryptocurrency investor. Not only that, but these courses usually charge an arm and a leg. Crypto Coffee is only charging $200. I think right now he actually has a discount for $150. I have a link below in the description. If you are new to crypto, do not understand HEX and how it works, click the link below. It's a quick, easy course. He only gives you the basics. I personally, myself, have thought about creating an intro to crypto course in the past. I don't think there's any reason to do so because Matt, Crypto Coffee, has already taken care of that. And I don't think anything needs to be added by anybody else. So check it out. The link is in the description and sign up to HEX Passive Income today.